Hello and welcome. I'm truly grateful you've arrived here, whether it's because you were intentionally searching for answers or simply stumbled across this message in a quiet moment of scrolling. I believe with everything in me that what you're about to hear can reach into the hidden places of your heart, the places you rarely talk about, maybe even the places you've tried to forget. There are seasons in life that don't come with explosions or headlines, but with a slow erosion inside. Not a disaster you can point to, not a visible collapse others can see, but an inward unraveling that happens quietly, almost imperceptibly. It's the mornings where you wake with a weight in your chest, unable to explain why. It's the nights when your mind races in circles, latching onto nothing, yet somehow feeling burdened by everything. You start to adapt to this inner heaviness. You get used to carrying it like a background noise that never stops. You begin to shape your life around it, letting it set the rhythm of your thoughts, the limits of your choices, and the edges of your hope. At first you think you're coping, but in truth you're shrinking. Fear starts to weave itself into the fabric of your everyday, not as a loud intruder, but as a quiet influence subtly steering the wheel. And deep beneath all the coping, there's a whisper inside you saying, "This isn't how life is meant to be. Something is missing. Something sacred has been lost." The real absence, what's missing is not more willpower. It's not discipline. It's not more information or religious activity. What's missing is the kind of love you may have never been taught to receive, not the fragile kind of love that has to be earned, not the kind of love that can be withdrawn when you fail, not the kind that forces you to perform for acceptance. No, I'm speaking of a love that is constant, pure, and unshakable. A love that welcomes you without conditions. A love that holds you without fear of rejection. Where this love is absent, fear finds a home. Fear moves in and pretends to be wise. It disguises itself as caution. Sometimes it even dresses up as something spiritual. It sounds convincing because it borrows familiar tones. The voice of a parent, a teacher, or even a distorted image of God. Over time, this counterfeit voice becomes so normal that you forget what true peace sounds like. You stop responding to the genuine call of love, and instead you start reacting to the demands of fear. When pain speaks, the inner ache you feel is not a punishment. It's not a sign that you're failing. It's a signal, an alarm in your soul, calling you back to the love you were made for. The human heart was designed to thrive in love, not merely survive in fear. But when love is absent, fear doesn't just fill the space, it distorts the way we see everything, especially how we see God. Fear tells you that every silence from heaven is disapproval. It whispers that your anxiety must mean you're out of line. It convinces you that if you're struggling, you must be on the wrong side of God's patience. The truth? Fear speaks in confusion, but love speaks in clarity. Fear torments. Love brings rest. The hidden danger of fear, the most dangerous thing about fear, isn't always the feeling itself. It's the way it subtly reshapes our understanding of who God is. If fear can get you to believe that God is the one making you afraid, you will instinctively pull away from Him. And if you pull away from Him, you will run from the very source of your healing. That's the quiet trap many fall into. We think we're obeying God when, in reality, we're obeying the voice of fear. We call it being careful or staying humble, but what we're actually doing is avoiding love's embrace because we don't buy to leave it safe. Love as warfare, many people imagine love as soft, fragile, and sentimental. But the kind of love that sets you free is nothing like that. It's fierce, it's disruptive. It is a force that refuses to negotiate with fear. This love doesn't simply sit beside you and comfort you while fear keeps talking in the background. It steps in, takes authority, and removes fear's influence altogether. Real love doesn't make peace with fear. It replaces it. It does this not by demanding you try harder, but by giving you something so secure that fear loses its footing. Why we struggle to believe. For those who've grown up in environments where affection was conditional, love like this feels impossible. If you were taught, whether directly or indirectly, that you had to behave perfectly to be accepted, you may find it nearly impossible to believe in unconditional love. You may pray, but in your heart you're bracing for rejection. You may worship, but you do so with a knot of shame hidden beneath every song. You may serve, but deep down you're convinced it's never quite enough. This is why many believers never truly feel safe, even in God's presence. We've learned to work for God, but we haven't learned to rest in Him. Where the battle is won, here's the truth. Returning to love is not just a warm, poetic thought. It's an act of spiritual resistance. It's warfare. When you allow love to occupy the spaces where fear has ruled, you're not simply improving your mood, you're breaking a stronghold. And strongholds aren't destroyed by effort alone. They are dismantled when we choose to trust the truth that we are already loved before we change, before we prove anything, before we earn it. Fear is a symptom, not a verdict. Many people treat fear as if it's a moral failure. They think if I were truly faithful, I wouldn't feel this way. But fear is not proof of failure. It's a signal. It's a sign that your heart is in need of more love. It's a clue that you've been living on self-defense mode for too long and your soul is starving for safety. You can't punish fear out of yourself. You can't outthink it or outrun it. Fear doesn't leave because you argue with it. It leaves when something stronger takes its place. That something stronger is the presence of love, an image to hold on to. Imagine a violent storm outside your window. Thunder shaking the walls, rain pounding the earth, wind howling through the night. Now picture a child running into their parents' arms. The storm doesn't stop immediately. The chaos outside doesn't vanish. But inside those arms, something shifts. Safety is no longer defined by the absence of threat. It's defined by the presence of someone who loves you. That's what it's like when you learn to rest in God's embrace. The world around you may still be unpredictable, but the panic begins to lose its power. Learning to feel held. Many of us know how to pray, but not how to rest. We know how to worship, but not how to be still in the assurance of His love. We know how to serve, but not how to feel held. That's why fear lingers for so many, because we've been performing for God instead of receiving from Him. True freedom doesn't begin when you've finally got it together. It begins when you allow yourself to collapse into His arms, even in your weakness. It's not at the end of your strength, but at the start of His presence, that the grip of fear begins to break. Love never retreats. Here's what you need to know. Real love doesn't abandon. It doesn't withdraw when you falter. It doesn't grow cold because you're in a season of struggle. The love of God moves toward you, not away from you, even in your most fearful moments. And when that love begins to define your reality, fear no longer gets the final say. From survival to rest, you were not created to survive under the constant weight of fear. You were created to live from the safety of love. And this is where the shift begins, not by erasing every difficult circumstance, but by letting the presence of love reshape how you see yourself, how you see God, and how you see the future.